that intro just hits different. Welcome to the blockchain basement, folks. Trump has struck a peace deal. Are we looking at the peace deal dump going down right now on Bitcoin? What the hell's going on? Got some pretty scary charts to follow up with. We looked at them yesterday, the day before, playing in. They're coming from macroeconomic pressures. We also have a potential takeover movement of military personnel into Chicago, Portland. Trump and the DOJ lining up for some action there. We're going to look at what's going on politically. There's a government shutdown right now. Democrats are celebrating. Republicans are in remorse. People are working without pay right now. DZ was just covering it on Discover Crypto, where, essentially there are TSA agents, people within the federal framework that are having to go to work without pay right now, which is a pretty painful thing to do, given the amount of inflation that's been caused by government printing over the past few years here. And also, we're going to look at, a potential target and a long-term vision of where we could actually see altcoins go through this collapse up that we're happening to see in gold, slightly in Bitcoin, not quite yet as hot as what's going on in gold currently. Gold is sitting above $4,000. This is absolutely nuts. Welcome to the show here. Roberto, Deucey Does Crypto, Huck, Crypto Crank. What is up, everybody? We got all the peeps. Sack Nasty, of course. Sack Nasty was talking about interesting fractals on Bitcoin to Tesla we might have to check out as well. But let's get into it. We got a lot of ground to cover on today's show. Thank you for joining me, everyone on the show as well. Follow me at Druth Crypto. Obviously, you're here on the Blockchain Basement YouTube channel. It's been a little bit of time, baby, but we're back. You know what? Might become a more regular thing. Blockchain Basement here on YouTube, and obviously, Discover Crypto. We have a lot of movement happening right now. So Bitcoin dropped below 121,000 just as I was talking right now. Ethereum on its way down. It's down 3.5%. Let's look at the actual pain here. Where's the guts? And there's these privacy coins and Litecoin. Well, shout out to Litecoin. Okay. Excellent work. Litecoin, the chaos in the back room. Let's look. Litecoin actually might be getting ready. Litecoin might be getting ready for something real uncomfortable for all the people that paid. I always talked about Litecoin. People would be like, he's going to fund it because he doesn't hold it and stuff. No, man. No, it's a very old school project. And you know what? It pumps. She pumps when she's ready. Okay? She pumps when she's ready. Hit the likes. That's right, man. Hit the likes. I appreciate you guys. Appreciate you. Crypto in my veins. Good to see you, man. Now, let's look at the charts first. So we have Bitcoin entering problem zone. What's going on? Now, I got stopped out in profit on this one while I was sleeping, or about to go to sleep. I was like trying to go to sleep and set my stop loss above entry, made like 10% on that trade. Now we're starting to fall down. I haven't taken a new trade today. It's been pretty ugly, pretty choppy, and I had to cover that psyop. What an absolute psyop. Jerome Powell completely tricked me. I skipped my workout. I skipped everything to cover that AI feel video. Let me know in the chat. Was what we saw from this morning of Jerome Powell fake, or was that an actual real Jerome Powell? Not an AI or robot. One for real, two for fake. Okay, because this morning Jerome Powell really, he really seemed like an artificial human being. But we have general scariness going on in the short term. Yeah, I think didn't say it. Yeah, it was. I really, it was either touched up with AI or something. Something was very off about that. XCL. Oh yeah, I seen a little bit of chatter about XCL. I might have to look at that. So Bitcoin, let's check this out on the larger time frames. Kind of walk out. 15-minute is not. I mean, this is, potentially just like a dead cat bounce, and then you're coming back down. So actually, I'm more interested in this green kind of buy interest zone below us here. currently. All right, let's go check out liquidations. Check it out real quick before we get into the crazy news going on in Trump land and Portlandia in Chicago. Things are about to get hot. So very split liquidation zoomed in, and we're just looking at this for the short-term trades. Well, this snap crash comes down 119.8. Probably lines up with the top end of that band, the buy band, 119.5, roughly right there. We're looking at that. All right. I'll pay attention to that. Let me know as we go through these stories if we hit that moment. 119.5, right? Keep an eye out for it. Now, this is very interesting to me. So they come out with this, the art of the peace deal. This is the Trump war room. The dictatorship. Nick's doing good. I talk to him actually pretty frequently, and there might be some brewings afoot, right? Potentially, allegedly. Now look at Politico put this article out. Politico has been very, very anti-Trump for a very long time. Now, they came out with this article. They're highlighting a lot of different things, but they're talking about Trump's towering achievement. Now, the source of this news write-up is what really struck me first. Obviously, a peace deal, they could talk about it. I really, really doubt that a peace deal is going to stick or hold. That's just my personal opinion. But, I mean, they are talking about this celebratory mood. He brokered this landmark peace deal in Gaza. Early days expectations are sky high after Israel and Hamas agreed to the first part of the peace deal, right? And of course, in natural crypto fashion, I saw this damn article last night and I was like, it's gonna fucking crash me. There it goes, right? Yes, the moment the article, the peace deal comes out, the downward spiral began. It's just so ridiculous. Trump speaks to the playbook. Dasha Burns spoke with Trump last night, found him ebullient. I feel good, Trump told her. It's a great deal for the world. It's a beautiful deal. That's what he sounded like. That was actually him calling in right there. Benjamin Netanyahu coming out calling for Trump to receive a Nobel Peace Prize now. And media is pretty worked up about it. Let's listen to this short clip. Here, this is on ABC as well. So I'm seeing the media anchors that have been very anti-Trump coming out and kind of celebrating him, which is something that is kind of shocking to me. I mean, this has been a long time that they've been going after Trump in the negative fashion for super long time. So let's have a listen to this.
Make no mistake, it looks like President Trump has actually pulled off something here that many presidents before him have failed to do.
So this is a moment where I'm starting to see the old mechanisms of, media control that really wanted to get rid of Trump. They seem to have been told, you know what? We're going to advertise the win of a peace deal in Gaza and Palestine, right? Now, what it means initially, I mean, I don't think that there's a lot of talking that our media is doing right now about the internal problems that are happening in America. Yes, that this is a good thing to see peace. I would say that people are celebrating it, right? They were taken out to the street in the Gaza Strip. Israel and Hamas signed that first phase of the peace plan. There is some nuance within the peace plan. Outstanding concerns need to be addressed. Hamas will still be standing, still be armed, and will not have been supplanted by an alternative Palestinian regime. Far-right members of Netanyahu government still seek to vanquish the terror group and potentially resettle parts of Gaza. So there's no, it's like the first phase of peace, but I really think that this is going to fall apart. I do. I don't feel that, this is going to stick. That's just my personal take on it. Really, they're talking about it. We hear about peace, but how long has this conflict been going on? You really got to acknowledge that. Now, I'm more so actually looking at domestically, things are building up. I was listening to, and shout out to the peeps of the blockchain basement. Some fella, I can't remember who, gave me a link to it was a conversation between like intelligence officers. Mike Glover is, if you don't know, a very, very good source of information, and just general tactics. But they're talking about internal issues within the U.S. being used as a veil to roll out larger cell movements of nations, alternative superpowers that look to disrupt the American way of life and really the infrastructure there within. So I was looking at this recent rollout of news going out from, this is actually Chicago, but there's problems in Chicago and Portland. Protesters are getting together to utilize a U-Haul pickup truck with speakers. This is actually going on in Portland and Chicago right now. Let's have a look at this.
Trump, we're the wolf! Your fundraise, not our school!
So they're running around chanting, and this is BG on the scene. I would highly recommend, if you're interested in on-the-ground updates of what's going on as it rolls out, for live on the ground action. BG on the scene is absolutely incredible at being there. It's Brendan Gutenschwager, right? One of the best live, capturers of information out there. But Tom Homan is starting to talk about the leadership, JB Pritzker in Chicago, talking about, some pretty direct shots about if this leadership in Chicago actually cares about.
And he hates Trump more than he cares about the safety of Chicago. They don't want President Trump to have a win on this, because what we're proving every day out there is the last 4 years under Joe Biden, historic levels of illegal immigration, historic number of Americans dying from fentanyl coming across an open border, historic number of women and children being sex trafficked. As we're out there removing these public safety threats, we're destroying their whole game they've had for the last 4 years, saying the border was secure, and they're not releasing unvetted aliens. We're proving them wrong every day, and they can't stand the truth. So again, President Trump is committed to American people to make this country safe again. I'm proud to work for President Trump. We can continue doing this. And like I said months ago, we will flood the zone in every sanctuary city. We're not going to stop. We're going to make this community safer, with or without their help.
So we have a definite locking of horns between state officials in heavily, Democrat controlled areas and federal government, federal resources, federal intervention, right? This is a very, very interesting time. And as this is all building up, right, we see those protests building up in the streets, right? We all know that there is organizations that the U.S. government is actively looking at that are the kind of spear of those organizations' protests that cause that real chaos that kickstarts the real bad stuff. So President Trump administration, they're announcing a plan to completely eradicate Antifa off of the face of the earth. Pam Bondi talking about this, and there's just some old school names.
We're not going to stop at just arresting the violent criminals we can see in the streets. Fighting crime is more than just getting the bad guy off the streets. It's breaking down the organization brick by brick, just like we did with cartels. We're going to take the same approach, President Trump, with Antifa. Destroy the entire organization from top to bottom. We're going to take them apart.
This is a big fish to fry. This is a very, very big fish to fry. I also saw, Trump came out and he released the RICO investigation about Jorge Oros, right? We all know the name. You're saying him in the chat, let me know. Yeah, a lot of Gal, where's the chat here? I want to run this across the screen here. I think we can get this one past the algorithmic robot overlords here on the YouTubes. Good morning. Got to say hello to him. Now, this is a boiling situation that, again, another good resource is out there in Portland, right? So we just saw Chicago and the situation in Chicago. Portland, in my opinion, has a much bigger buildup of Antifa. Now, this is Nick Shirley talking on Fox News about the situation.
Yeah, well, they're mad because the truth is being shown. Antifa has been running their operation in a building right next to an ICE facility for over 100 days. And legacy media has never even gone to show what was happening there. And it just took a few independent journalists like myself to show America what was actually happening.
I mean, they're accusing you guys of recycling video that's like 4 years old. I mean, what have you seen recently that just shocked you?
Yeah, just how Portland PD, they would not stand up for the independent journalists when it was very obvious. There was video footage of them getting attacked by some of these Antifa members, and it just happened that for some reason these independent journalists could actually beat these Antifa guys in a fight when it came down to it, and they arrested them.
So this Nick fella, he actually was, if you go to his account here, I remembered this video. He was actually being threatened, by Antifa members that were saying that they were going to smoke him, right? You know what that means. They were saying they were going to shoot him and kill him. And as he's being, kind of approached and surrounded by these jackasses, Department of Homeland Security snipers were on the roof and put green lasers on the assailant. So this is actually the same guy, and he's on the ground there. It's Nick Shirley. So we're watching both on the ground movements, but there's been mention of, Pam Bondi saying that we're going to treat Antifa the same way that we're treating the cartel. And there's also on the other side of this multifaceted 29-headed hydra that we're dealing with in terms of macroeconomic pressure. And it's a lot of it, in my opinion, what I'm focused on is the domestic side. And this is very much so part of that domestic push that we are seeing from Trump internally. And this is the Sonora cartel. They're threatening to target American citizens in popular tourist spots like Cabo in response to lab raids and seizures, right? So we've seen the pressure has been very much been applied and is actively being applied to cartels, right? And there's been an active, focused measure from the current Department of War, right? It's not the Department of Defense, the Department of War. And we're seeing movement, right? I guess I could say it that way without getting banned off YouTube. We're seeing a lot of direct movement and pressure from the Department of War on this. So a banner they put up recently erected addresses FBI Director Kash Patel. The first surfaced on Sunday in Baja California, where gunmen were leaving two banners allegedly signed by Los Chapitos. Right? Breitbart reported on this. The banners claim that they will be targeting U.S. citizens in Mexico in response to recent, seizures and things of that nature. I've seen this from many, many different credible sources that I follow for information that this is a tangible threat. So do keep that in mind if you are indeed traveling to, the area of Mexico, any of those tourist spots. One thing that, I will say is that tourism is something that I would imagine, just from the income that Mexico makes from it, a big, big thing that the country wants to retain and make sure that people feel comfortable and want to come to Mexico for the tourism side. But we'll see how deep those roots go in terms of economic interest in tourism over continuing to smuggle drugs and people into the United States. Now, what we have here, Chuck Schumer is celebrating the shutdown of the government that many people are saying the Democrats caused. And now Chuck Schumer is saying that it is indeed good for the Democratic Party. Cynthia Loomis here highlighting it is not good for the military families missing those paychecks. The travelers facing that airport chaos. DZ's getting into it. And, there is a degree of, you have a system. There's a lot of federal workers out there that are, on furlough right now, or their jobs are being eliminated with this shutdown. And given a certain amount of time, there is a massive amount of eliminations that will happen within the federal government. How far that goes, we shall see. You have to keep a certain amount of infrastructure and people around, for basic services to keep working. But we are at a moment where, they're celebrating on the Democrat side because they're trying to put the pressure on the Republicans to release more money for, things of healthcare nature. But I think that the real locking point here is we're dealing with millions and millions of people that came here undocumented. And the Democrats want to continue the services and the healthcare, things of that nature for them. The Republicans are trying to stop that, right? And so now we're seeing that kind of linchpin play itself out in the U.S. government. It's unfortunate that there are, people stuck in between, because the average person, even they're just working for the government, they're still generally, pretty stretched thin on finances if they're in the middle class. And, it's definitely impacting them pretty hard. Government shouldn't be funding healthcare. That's that's a real thing, right? And healthcare is a scam to me anyways. Like, they literally will just increase the bill if they see you have healthcare. If you don't, then they just keep it low, right? There you go. You can pay this much. It's so insane. Now, within this government shutdown, IRS is going to cut 50% of its staff. So there's a little bit of silver lining to this mushroom cloud going off right now. And also, we've seen so many bills and so much pandering for climate change. We hop on over to the Palisades fire update to see what climate change actually looks like, folks. This is what climate change actually looks like right there. So it looks like we have an arrest in the Palisades fire. Absolutely crazy. And I put up a post about this, kind of referencing this. So Melbourne resident Jonathan Rinderneck, age 29, was arrested for infamous Palisades fire in California. He is charged with intentionally setting the January 1st, 2025 fire that resulted in a tremendous loss of property and life. Now, this is the January fire, right? This is, let's see. I don't think that this actually, I think I've actually put it the wrong time, because the time frames of this, the Palisades fire was January of, and give me the year, but it was January, and then the Canyon fire happened later on. There was a massive plea for investments into stopping climate change. Like, the more money we pay, we can stop the environment from changing somehow. That's some insane idea that we've come up with in this world. But the pandering for it was at a very, very high peak, right? My hometown in Colorado, it burned down, right? Why did it burn down? Well, it turned out that the electrical line fell down, fire happened. The idea that climate change is hitting a crescendo right now, though, is where I think people really, really missed the mark. Remember the Dust Bowl, right? The Great Depression era, all of that movement, all of the insane climate movements that we've already seen just in the last 100 years. I mean, the Earth, it moves in ebbs and flows, right? We're at a solar maximum or a minimum at times, and paying more taxes to change that is just idiotic, in my opinion. Now, this is a graph, and let me know what the one coin is. I want to know what now we're seeing potential dips, right? We're seeing potential dips, and I want to know from you guys, what is the coin that you feel like you missed out on? Now you're seeing a little bit of a pullback, and you're wondering if it is the coin to buy, because I have a couple in mind. For me, I'm seeing a nice little pullback on altcoins. I want to start talking about altcoins. I see the blood, yes, but we're crazy here in the blockchain basement. We buy pain. We buy pain. We sell joy, right? That's a tweet right there. Buy pain and sell joy. Bitcoin trying to find its footing at 121,000, but the crazy thing about our situation here is the Dixie. And the Dixie this is way too zoomed in. The Dixie on the weekly is trying to bounce up pretty hard. It's trying to round out that money flow leaving, and it is trying to go up, right? And so I think we're seeing a little bit of extra pressure on the Bitcoin chart for the time being. But things are going parabolic in some regards. Like, gold is going absolutely ridiculously high. Let's actually go check out the gold chart right now. Bam, bam, still cooking off that shelf. So we're sitting here above $4,000 an ounce for gold. Things are getting pretty ridiculous on that side. The macroeconomic storm that we're heading into, I'm going to be making my plays on these micro caps, with a very conservative approach, understanding that we might be in for just disgusting crash. If the basic premise of this 4-year cycle plays out, I heard them talking about the concept of this in the Discover Crypto chat. The chat was completely split 50-50. Is the 4-year cycle broken, right? I think that this is I want to kind of check out where my chat's at. Where are you guys at? Where's my peeps at? So is the 4-year cycle broken, right? Just flat out. Is it broken? Is it going to change? Just yes or no. I want to see where you guys are with this. Look at the movements that we're having on other charts other than gold has been stupid though. Cocoa, they're highlighting cocoa volatility here. Cocoa prices in New York are now down 50% from their all-time high in 2024 to $6,000 per ton, the lowest in nearly 2 years. This is after the rise of price brought a 600% increase in 2023 and 2024. This is the chart. Massive blow off top for cocoa. And now coming back home, might end up, tapping the top end of this $4,000 mark. It just goes to show there's a lot of volatility out there, and these commodity items are going to be something that'll be pretty fun to play with as tokenized assets come through. So, I'm just kind of watching those charts as well. There is a lot of volatility to be found though, and it is pretty historic. The dollar is more volatile than the S&P 500 over the last month. From a report on Goldman Sachs, this is the third time over the last 7 years that this has happened, after December 23 and July 2025. By comparison, during the April sell-off, the realized volatility ratio between the S&P 500 and the dollar index jumped to 6x, the highest since 2020. This comes to the US dollar is on track for its worst year, but it is trying to fight back, as I just showed you on that more zoomed in picture of the dollar. It's at a moment where it damn well better fight back at this spot, right? It's at a spot where it has to fight back, or it's a crescendo downtown for the dollar. So we're seeing that. And also, I was curious about this. Putting this in the chat, how much is gas where you live? I saw this report. According to Consumer Affairs, Georgia in general ranked among the most expensive states to own a car. Drivers spend an average of nearly $3,400 a year on insurance, repairs, and fuel, right? So that's the total cost. Right here in Georgia, I'm right at about $2.80. But if I get gas in my sticks of the woods, right, my far out, it's pretty far out there, I'm not gonna lie, from all this commerce. It's like $2.70. So it's not that bad. I drive a Toyota, so the maintenance really isn't anything, and I actually do a good amount of my own. And I have a great mechanic, right? It's about who you know too, because I know locally, if I go look for car work, it's crazy. They'll give me crazy estimates. If I know the guy that'll talk my ear off, but he's been working on cars for 20, 30 years, and he charges a very reasonable rate, and he's my homie, and you put a ring on it, it's like 1/5, 1/6 of the cost, right? So it's that kind of feels, it depends on if you're going to just call the first one that comes up on Google, go there and just pay them blindly for whatever they want to make you pay for. Toyota and a 300 Win Mag is the vibe. Yeah, that's right, baby. You know the vibe. That's the ultimate winning vibe right there. Ultimate winning vibe. Toyota Lexus for life. A lot of Toyota Maxis in the chat. Hell yeah. 320 in Pennsylvania. Let's check it out. 450 in Washington. Holy God. That's a lot. All right. 269 in Dallas. That's a good deal. 240-ish for Mike. Texas got some cheap prices. $2.99 in Michigan. $3. Let's go pew pew. $3.80 for that premium. Of course you would. Sufficient enough. Unbelievable. 250 South Texas. Looks like pretty cheap prices in South Texas right now. Pre-rich 340. Interesting. I like seeing it. All right. So we got a good vibe. In Texas is the cheap spot. Georgia's pretty dang cheap. $3 in Charlotte. These are prices that, oh my God, Kinetic paying $491 in California. I was afraid for the California. $563 in LA. Holy God. Philadelphia. Okay. Yeah. Michael, I fit fine in the Sienna. And Sequoia. You could do it. That's interesting though. California is absolutely crazy expensive. Now we're in this moment when alt season, not feeling great, right? But the all-time highs for the tops are there. We're gonna get the question for the wife. When are we selling? Oh, I can't, babe. The bull run hasn't even begun. Oh, Lord. All the invites coming and talking about all-time highs. What does selling mean? All of these responses. Yeah, it's the moment where we're at the last 4 months of expectations, at least for me, on really juicy price action. And right now there is much to be desired on alts, right? Bitcoin dominance, it's fighting hard. Okay, we're going to look at the most painful graph in altcoin crypto. It is Bitcoin dominance right now, right? The Dixie's one thing, but this thing is just, whew. Let's check it out on the weekly. Check this out on the weekly. All right. Okay. So we got to analyze this money flow because the price go up, money flow also trying to swoop up. Right. So, I like Bitcoin and Chainlink, right? For moments like this, I still like Morpho actually at these prices too. Like my combination is pretty simple. It's Morpho, Chainlink, Aerodrome, and Bitcoin, right? If I said that twice, I'm not sorry. Now, this is pushing up. We had a red day on Bitcoin dominance yesterday, but it is pushing up pretty damn aggressively. I'm still holding on to the opinion this will end up looking like a head and shoulders. One more last move. I'm planning to start taking profits right here in this 54 mark. Hopeful for the long-term process of getting down to this 50% mark on Bitcoin dominance. Time frame wise, is this 4-year cycle broken? I think structural pieces that are very, very important to the traditional 4-year cycle are dead. But the time frame, I think, will only end up being slightly skewed. So with that being said, I'm looking for less pullback in Bitcoin and a few months of differentiation in an extended time frame for Bitcoin and crypto's real juicy time. That is my opinion. I'm sticking to it. I want to take your guys' poll here and actually see what you guys say. 69% of you say yes, the 4-year cycle is broken. 31% say no. So, and that's very different than the Discover Crypto check in there, right? That's very interesting. Trump delayed business cycle and interest rate drops by at least 3 months. That could be some of the mechanics playing into my general. What I've mapped out so far in Bitcoin is that we spent longer at all-time highs, and we have federal interest rate cuts coming over the course of the end of the year. Bitcoin crypto historically does perform very, very well over the next few months, given the year that we are in the 4-year cycle traditionally. So, there is, I think, the acknowledgement that, the 4-year cycle, when you say it, you're expecting 70% drawdown. You're expecting a blow off top in November, pretty pointed things. I think it's easy to say no to those things. It's pretty easy to say no to those things because there is a lot of systemic change to how Bitcoin's held. So now, and yesterday, you know what I said? 70% of all meme coin holders were in profit yesterday. Anyone know what I said? I said the next thing to come is pain. That is what I said, and boy howdy, did we see it. Now, with the pain, yes, there's probably going to be bounce back and there's probably going to be gain. Let's go look at it. So the biggest losers. Aster gets ass blasted, $1.67. Okay. But honestly, people complaining about this are top blasters. People complaining about this top blasted Aster. They're Aster top blasters. Right? That's what people complaining about this price action right now are to me. But it is the biggest loser on the day, right? So decent pullback. And also Plasma. This is another newbie. This is another newbie with a nice, juicy, psychotic entry point pullback. This is a play behind stable coins. And you know what? At this point, with how we know crypto is here to stay, where do we see the revenue? Stable coins, right? We see it in all of these just basic plugins to financial movements. Not really the hot, juicy metaverse up only idea that we had in the past, right? So staying power and revenue in altcoins is what matters. This thing actually stands to make some pretty good revenue. So that's an interesting set of pieces pulling back right now. Pancake Swap still up 30% on the week. Oh my God, Deucey. Holy Jesus. What the? Holy God, Deucey. Oh my Lord. Now Circle is a great mention in this frame of thought, right? Because we're thinking revenue, boys and girls, ladies and folks of all types. We're thinking revenue. We're thinking tangible value, right? Let's go look at Circle. I have to go look at the Avantis chart now. What the hell's going on in Avantis? Oh my Lord, look at this. Look at this. This is the sales. These are the sales. I don't know what everyone wants me to say. Like, I was also thinking in this extra pain, like, I want Linea to go to like nothing, and then I can just buy it. I want Linea to go to like low. I'm talking low. Right? Because you know what? The only one. Yeah, and me too, Jade. Glad we don't chase. You know. And this is Linea Project. It's got my attention. It's definitely got my attention. So I want that to go as low as possible. And where, it's actually standing, it broke its continuous uptrend, right? So in logical trading, this should actually return. Let's go to the daily on this. No, it's damn near did. All right. So 0.25. That's basically there. Look at that shit. 0.25 to 0.24. It's on daily. Very new. People, and this is where like you remind yourself you get the crypto at the price you deserve. And if you want to, for me, I look at Linea as a psychotic, utilitarian bet, just betting on Joe Lubin and this, Swift connection actually play out to at least some degree of speculation at points. This is a $387 million market cap project. This is a very small project, right? I understand the danger. I love this group too for that. A lot of you understand that we can't get the 10x, the 100x without taking major risky plays when pain is on the menu, right? That's what it is. Now there's some old charts that are being looked at. This is really funny. J Chain's coming out here. Everyone loves to cry that V Chain has done nothing for years. It's called accumulation, not failure. Every major move V Chain's history started right here, started quiet in the 4-year trend line. While the impatient got shaken out, smart money loads up when it's boring. Kind of like I was just saying, talking about it for V Chain, right? The breakout phase comes after. This is where things get dark. Okay. This is where things get dark. And where's the reply? Oh no, did he? Oh, here's the reply. All right, so this is the reply. From CryptoFace, I politely disagree. The chain is impossible to pump. Any pump that would be short-lived is sold into hard. We don't think that to save the world by self-reporting when you recycle thing is going to work out. It really hasn't so far. And they've had just this really cringe move to eco-friendly crypto is the only way to go. And they're like standing on the beach. Sonny is a good dude, but horrible token to invest. Damn. All right. So let's go. All right. We just heard two different arguments, right? So let's go look at how sick from inflation VeChain actually has become, right? Is there something actually to be concerned about here? And let's just do the basic. This is like a doctor going and hitting your knee when you're a kid and seeing if you have reflexes. Just a quick reflex test on tokenomics here for VeChain. Not horrible. Not horrible. Now, in terms of token unlocks, gonna ramp up. It's gonna need so it doesn't have sickness from inflation causing this, because there's something causing this, right? And if I had to wager on who's right in this conversation on if it's gonna pump or not, my definite bet is on CryptoFace's take here, right? I actually think that what he's hitting on is really kind of, compounded and proven by the lack of sickness in general tokenomic pressure. So there is likely just major selling pressure when they have those short-term pumps, And this is kind of the situation a lot of these old school projects are going to be running into, is you're running out of the need for just basic random whatever token. It doesn't matter what you do. It's going to be hopeful someday. Now you have to, actually come up with a solution and make that revenue. It's a much different environment. Is and Red Monster, is Trump live? If he is, let me know in the chat here and I'll do a side search. You know what? Problem here, send me a link on X, or we can actually search X as well. Let's see here. For some reason, this damn Google account that I'm at, all of them won't pull up freaking live news here. Cabinet meeting. Let's see if this is it. Here, what up, Deontay?
Hakeem Jeffries and the congressional Democrats are holding the entire federal government hostage. I will tell you, a lot of Democrats want to get this thing open too. They do. They're calling us and they just want to get it open. And all we're doing is saying, just play the same thing until we get it straight. And they don't know how to go about it. I mean, and the problem is we really don't know who the hell is leading the Democrats. You have this AOC, I don't know her at all, but I watched her the other day. She said, well, if they want, they could come to my office. That's not leadership, The only one that challenged her actually was Nancy Pelosi, and Nancy's not looking too good. I don't know what happened to Nancy, but she's not looking great. But she was the only one, I give her credit, she was the only one that challenged her. But AOC said that they can come to her office and negotiate, the Republicans. And we're saying, oh, I didn't know she was in leadership. But she's taking Hakeem Jeffries' place, and Schumer's afraid that she's going to run against him. And right now, I don't know, he can change, life is crazy, right? But right now he can't beat, I don't think he can beat anybody. So he'll lose in a primary. I would say he'll retire before he loses in a primary. Schumer's going to retire because he can't beat anybody. His polls are so bad. Meanwhile, the Democrat shutdown is causing pain and suffering for hardworking Americans, including our military, our air traffic controllers, and impoverished mothers, people with young children, people that have to live not the greatest of lives. But we're doing so many tax cuts. We've cut their taxes. The great big beautiful bill, we've cut their taxes at levels that nobody's ever seen. I mean, no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on overtime. It's been a great thing for a lot of people. They're doing great. Despite all of the damage that it's caused, the shutdown has been,
they're in immense pain, but they're doing great.
Not yet, because it's early, but it gets a little bit worse as it goes along. And we'll be making cuts that will be permanent. And we're only going to cut Democrat programs, I hate to tell you. I guess that's makes sense. But we're only cutting Democrat programs. But we're going to start that, and we have Russell. We can talk to you about it if he wants to. But we'll be cutting some very popular Democrat programs that aren't popular with Republicans, frankly, because that's the way it works. They wanted to do this, so we'll give them a little taste of their own medicine. But Chuck Schumer proclaimed this morning that every day gets better for them. No, every day it's actually getting worse for them. And they're having a rebellion in the Democrat Party because they want to stop. And if you saw all of Schumer's, I watched last night like 10 different times over the years, he said, you can't shut down government, you can't shut down. And now he's the one that shut it down. So this is a confession that he's acting not to serve the people, but to serve the partisan interests of his party. And I don't think he's serving them well because they're way down. Look, they just lost an election in a landslide. You know, it was interesting. I watched Kamala. It was a sad figure. I watched her the other day saying the election was very close. I said, no, the election was a landslide. We won the popular vote by millions. We won the Electoral College by, I think, 312 or 315 to 220 something. But there's another one that we won that's probably, that's why when you see the maps are completely red. It's counties. The counties, we won at 2,505 to 525. So 2,525. That's called one of the greatest, biggest landslides in history. And that's one that people are using now as a primary. But literally, when you see it colored in, the entire country is red representing Republicans. So, you know, they go around, they just lie. They just lie. And everything's a big lie with them. Well, the other side, and the other thing I don't understand is, Christie, I looked at crime numbers in Chicago, they're through the roof, and I have a governor who stands up every day and tells us how wonderful Chicago is. It's just a lie. It's like a con job. It's
How
like
many
Gavin
Antifa do you
Newsom.
think are going to show up?
This is how well he's doing in
Chicago?
California, and they're doing terribly.
Let me know.
Population's getting smaller, people are leaving, and other people are coming in, and, you know, I wouldn't say it's an even trade. While the other side is focused on playing games, the Trump administration is focused on creating jobs, bringing down prices, and we've really brought them down a lot. That's the other thing. We're bringing down prices a lot. We're bringing down grocery prices, but the big thing is energy. When you bring down energy, everything comes down, and the energy prices are way down. I see we're down to about $61 now a barrel, and what gasoline's going to be, I think gasoline's going to be below $2 at some point in the pretty near future. It's very low, much lower than it was under Sleepy Joe. And we're restoring law and order in our country. We're restoring it here, but we're restoring it right now. We're in Memphis. We're going to Chicago. We're going to other cities. Many governors are asking us to, including Democrats are trying to ask. I don't know what the big problem is. If I were a Democrat governor, I'd be saying, whatever you can do to get crime down, I'll take anybody. You can bring them in I don't care who it is. A lot of people said that. They interviewed women, these beautiful women in Chicago, black women with a MAGA hat, a red hat. They said, we don't care who he brings in here, but this place is really dangerous. We just want crime to stop. It's true. They don't care. You know, they don't differentiate between the National Guard and the Marines. They don't care. They'll take anybody. And that's the way it is. I mean, they want what we did in D.C., they want to happen to them. And it's happening in Memphis already. I see in less than a week, the numbers are really good. And it'll be great, and it will fix that. We'll go to various other places, and we're going to be stopping crime in our cities. And that's a great thing, and we won't get credit for it, but it's a great thing. We've launched a historic campaign to take back our nation from the gangs and the street criminals, violent repeat offenders, illegal alien lawbreakers, domestic extremists, and savage, bloodthirsty cartels. And very little, by the way, is coming in by water, in case you haven't known. The drugs aren't coming in by water. In fact,
he's not being shy about
boats in the water anymore. We had boats, we were like a subway train loaded up with drugs. Every single boat that you see getting taken out kills 25,000 Americans. Think of that. Because it's pretty tough stuff, but it kills 25,000 Americans. So when you hear that, it's no longer tough. But here in Washington, we've deployed federal law enforcement and National Guard to restore public safety, and we're working to replicate that in numerous places all over the country. And we have a very powerful military. We have a very powerful National Guard. I want to thank the governor of Texas, who has been, as usual, great. Governor Abbott, he gave us 400 troops without even a question. And we have other governors likewise doing what has to be done because they know we have to confront crime. We're directly confronting the sinister threat of left-wing domestic terrorism and violence, including the terrorist group Antifa. You saw that yesterday. We had a news conference. Antifa is out of control in Portland and other places, but mostly Portland in the case of Antifa. And we had people that were really badly affected by them. It was terrible. So one of those things, but we're knocking the hell out of them. And we're looking for the people that are funding them, and those people are going to be just as guilty as the people that smack people over the head with a baseball bat. And I'd like now to ask Attorney General Bondi and Secretary Noem to discuss this a little bit and tell where we are. And then we'll go around the room. We'll go quickly. We're going to go quickly if we can because we have a lot of things to do, including...
Okay.
I won't be spending...
Nice we catch that live there. Good looking out, man. Absolutely crazy. And he's compounding exactly what I'm telling you right now. And as you can see in the chat, I mean, there are people on one hard side of the spectrum absolutely can't stand / are feeling near. I mean, they're speaking about violence on the Democrat side towards Republicans. There is no denying that. This is a kettle. This is a boiling kettle. It's reaching that peak pressure point, right? And here in America, the descent of locally elected government officials, like we see in Colorado, like we're seeing in Chicago, like we're seeing in California, right? Like we're seeing in Washington, right? In Portland, the mayor was seen walking with literal Antifa. Those are designated as terrorist organization. On the other side of the spectrum, I'm seeing old names come up that I am extremely familiar with. Gavin McInnes is back on it, right? Whereas I think Tario made it out of prison. You know, a lot of names that literally had no voice since J6 are starting to come back. Then I see hundreds, if not thousands, of what are now deemed as terrorists here in the United States. I see governments putting National Guard already on the ground in Chicago. This is a recipe for absolute disaster on a civil side. I mean, it is a recipe for absolute disaster. So that being said, you know, the markets, they're doing their ups, their downs. Those, you know, they don't really nearly concern me as much as the civil basic fabric of our society being on the edge of being ripped into shambles, into pieces, right? So that being said, you know, let's go look at Avantis now. Let's go look at Avantis and let's go check out these altcoins. This is a very important time for America, though. I want to, and I feel a lot of release being able to talk about this more pointedly with you without the concerns of, you know, it seems like it's not really what people are willing or wanting to look at for the most part in crypto. But these things matter on a very cultural and just life happiness level, right? Crypto gives me something else to pay attention to keep me a little bit sane during all this craziness going on in the world right now. Now, this is absolutely Levy Ducey. Now, this is Avantis. Now we're looking at 82 cents. We're looking at problems. It looks like I think someone in the chat had a situation going on with this. So it might have been Brian and Wild. Yeah, I'm feeling the release. And it feels good. All right. Now, Avantis. This was the shelf we were watching out for, isn't it? And this is a very thin shelf. This is like, if you better be like a mountain goat and be able to have them nimble hooves to be able to catch yourself off this little doodad right here. So this is a problem. This is a problem. I think, not 100% sure. All right, so let's just act like I got in at a buck, right? Because I'm feeling like there's probably a lot of entries going on in this zone right here, this rollover. Now, the narrative of the lore behind this is that it was going to be a decentralized perpetuals competitor play from base, right? Now, base token, the base ecosystem generally kind of quiet. Let's go to the base ecosystem. Let's see here. Let's go to full screen and make myself smaller. So this is where I can find the ecosystem categories. We're going to go down and find base. Go find base. I feel like it's been a little bit quiet, but there is something boiling for base, is the release of the base token, right? Yeah, it was pushed down pretty far here. All right. So it's funny. Chainlink is the number one. The Chainlink is the number one token in the base ecosystem. Zora's not doing too bad. Okay. Dudes on, okay. I mean, this isn't horrible. Any major systemically important ones falling? They include the pancake swap in here. So Avantis is kind of that major pain within the base ecosystem right now. That's why it's being brought up so pointedly. Perpetuals, I'll say this, a base play to fade of, what Aster is doing in Binance and their, you could argue it's crime. You could argue it's pointed market control ability. You could say that market control and ability is a monopoly. You can complain all around you want, but there's multiple exchanges across the planet. Coinbase, behind the base token ecosystem, has its own perpetuals that it just rolled out. Binance has been rolling perpetuals for quite some time, right? Perpetuals on Coinbase are very new. From a company perspective, I would put more efforts into pushing the in-app perpetuals over the decentralized perpetual. That's just me. Now, maybe people will flock to it, and it doesn't take many people to flock to this type of project to make a pretty good move. It's at a $212 million market cap. It has fallen pretty heavily, though, from those recent highs. Let's see what that pullback looks like right now. From Pico top of 265 down to, that's a 70% pullback right there. 70% pullback. From the dollar, this is what I'm assuming would be previously the interest zone that we had entry points coming in at that I'm hearing about, but I'm just acting like I've got it in at that zone. I'm down 32%. I mean, this shelf, this initial run up shelf, is the last stand for Avantis, right? Now, in terms of volume, you're down by 20%, right? So that's not great. You don't like being down by 20% in volume as the market cap is dropping. That is something that, I'm looking at this as a buy zone. If I had already bought in, Jesus. I wonder, and let me ask you, Patton, it was Ducey. Okay, Ducey. Oh my God. Jesus Christ. I'm gonna have to hit up Ducey on the Discord on this one. Holy snap. Yeah, I mean, this is why we want data and things to come out in these trenches. There is pain, and this is the pain acknowledged here. This actually, I'd say, is probably going to find a moment of relief here, though. I think that this shelf, it previously pumped up to, there's going to be a lot of people, cutting their losses. But as long as Avantis and the base ecosystem keep moving forward, I think that the alts, they're going to have their moment. I definitely followed this project here. It's just a matter of I don't think that it's going to have the same juice as Aster. I think Coinbase is going to be more inclined to advertise their new perpetual in-app, right? That's just my immediate sentiment about it. Ducey, oh no, Ducey. In the arms of an angel. Oh my God. The man lives on. Now, XRP retail is also down in the dust, in the depths, you guys. Retail sentiment turned deeply bearish over the last few months, even 6 months, signaling a potential rebound. They're talking about this on the Discover chat. You know, even though it just, you know, the despise is real within me on XRP maximalists stealing their $10,000 XRP idea to me. And I will not be sorry for pushing back and slapping them around with facts when they approach me. But Jesus, you know, the amount of bearishness and boringness, I see the fear and greed is at what? It's probably like, it's at a 58 right now. This fear and greed is going to go down. People are going to slide under the 50 mark. Bitcoin's over $120,000 still. It's absolutely crazy. Good morning, Steve-O. Good to see you here. XRP, FUD, Binance now in that FUD zone. I buy blood. I buy blood during FUD. And I have a very short window of feeling like buying anything, right? When I get to the holidays, no more purchases of crypto happening. No more. And I will be looking to ladder out. I'll leave my moon bag behind of a Chainlink, and I'm keeping the Bitcoin regardless, no matter what. That is the general plan. But I do feel like the mechanics of this 4-year cycle are still largely in play. I think there's difference in the additional months that I feel we're likely to see into Q1 of 2026, maybe even Q2. And also the down draw of Bitcoin not reaching that expected 75% pullback, right? That's what I feel. Tell me if you think I'm crazy in the comments down below. Now, someone, I can't remember, I think it was Kryptoni was bringing this up yesterday. Caspa had a large amount of transactions go through and they were shutting down exchanges, they say. Just Caspa was working good. Exchanges were shutting down. Does it matter? Do the tech lovers get their love in terms of price? Probably not. Let's go. Nope, they did not. Okay, so yeah, you get a lot of, you know, transactions, a lot of throughput tested, and just downward spiral in here. Aggravating to see this, but if you're looking at it from this perspective, you know, it's not too crazy. Main bounce points on this thing are like 5 cents. 6 cents, 5 cents, it's got to do it. It's right at that max pain level right now. Long-term belief in proof of stake alternatives other than Bitcoin and or Litecoin, right? Proof of, not really proof of stake, proof of work. I hope I didn't say stake. Yeah, DeFi, it's the pain point, right? This is the pain point, is where we're at right now with Caspa. And, you know, there were insane gains right now. I don't really hear the massive hoopla about Caspa going on, which doesn't entice me to go FOMO in a bag. If I'm analyzing this as a person that bought the top, then I'm looking for, you know, escape pump in this, you know, 13 to 15 cent zone, right? It's already at a $2 billion market cap. Could it rocket to $10 billion? I've seen things do crazier things, but I'm just not looking. I'm not looking for something like that, right? It seems pretty damn muted out. What I'm looking for is the long-term vision, the projects that have actual revenue, real use. And Chainlink is that one in terms of altcoins. Niku is calling for Link to hit 500 billion, $500 billion market cap by 2030. Now, in that context, you know, we're talking about $1,000, I think, plus Chainlink. One in chat if you think Chainlink stays around and eventually hits $1,000 a piece, like we're seeing Binance finally hit its stride and hit those 4-digit levels right now. Do you think that Chainlink can do what Binance just did in the next cycle if we're long-term holding Chainlink? Or do you think that that's absolute chaos, right? Do you think that that's absolute chaos? I want to know what you think. 1 for yes, 2 for no on $1,000 Chainlink by 2030. The concept is there, the application, the partnerships are there, but is it a reality? There's many people that are talking about this. It's, you know, in my mind, beyond kind of that crypto token narrative, basic infrastructure that allows crypto and the existing financial system to interact with each other. I've seen the stable coin, the super cycle that we're all talking about, hoping and looking for, has already played out and is continuing to play out in stable coin adoption, in real world asset adoption. People are looking at the wrong charts, looking for where this massive influx is coming from. The basic infrastructure of how crypto is becoming part of our lives is happening. We're sitting here complaining about random Ferraris that are left on the side of the road because their engine's broke, right? This is something that I've just really taken in and I observed over the past few weeks. And, you know, if you have a long-term vision in something, why give up on it if the fundamentals haven't changed? Why give up? So love and appreciate every single one of you out there. Thank you very much on this beautiful day. Make sure to leave me a comment down in the chat. The token that you want to get in this dip. If you're crazy enough to be like me, where you're looking at this dip as a buying opportunity, let me know down in the chat. Love and appreciate every single one of you out there. Hippie Holder, Dingo Actual, Dylan K, Petro. Drop your comments down so I can catch your names over here. Crypto Stevo. Let's see here. Of course, VZ Fat Cat, Slothman, Green Day Profits, Lovers Go Pew, and a lot of ones in chat. A lot of ones saying that we can hit $1,000. Pre-Rich saying no. Oh, he doesn't think so. Tyler saying yes. Next cycle, Crypto Stevo says a maybe, but that's still a one. You're saying there's a chance. You're saying there's a chance.